Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wessex Ways, the podcast, the only podcast that you really want to listen to. Episode 21. I am Paul Whitewick. Who are you?
And I am Hedley Thorneh.
And Hedley, did you not manage to get a guest this week?
Let's roll the music.
Hey!
Hey.
No one wants to be on our podcast, right? I not that we're always after guests, but
that's not true. In fact, I will. We've got a bit of a queue forming. To be honest with you, we have.
That's exciting.
It is, but we will come to that shortly. So, welcome everyone to episode 21. So the way we do this, we talk about things about Wessex, don't we, Paul? You talk about, some of the videos you make in Wessex on YouTube because you're a well-known podcaster. Talk about sort of canals, railways, and all of that, Roman roads. I talk about sort of walking routes, hills, and the scraps that are left behind after Paul has taken all the good subjects. So the way we do this, talk a little bit about what we've been up to recently, and then we go through a few bits and pieces, and then we both have a subject basically, and Paul's inserted an amazing feature before mine called Treasure Hunt that regular listeners know and
love.
Apparently love. Someone's got to.
Right. A thought's just occurred to me, Hedley, at this juncture in time. It's probably 2024, so we should probably wish our listeners and viewers a happy new year, because
yes,
I mean, we're recording this on the 29th of December, so unless something magic happens with the editing, happy new year.
Happy New Year, and thank you for those of you that have stayed with us. So that's wonderful.
All three of you.
All three of you, yes. We just probably lost one. We just lost another one, haven't we?
We've got some big plans for Wessex Ways in 2024. As Hedley's alluded to, we've got a lot of guests, but also a lot of just different bits and pieces, haven't we, Hedley?
Well, you say that, I don't know. You've got these plans. I just go along with whatever you say. You know. Look, we're like Morecambe and Wise. You're Eric Morecambe. I'm just Ernie Wise. People come to, look and listen to you, don't they? So yeah. So I mean,
it's not true.
You're right. It's not. So we've got. So I've been up to quite a lot since the last episode. So do you want to start and then I can waffle, because I think one of the things I've done, I'm going to make into not a mini subject, but just what I've done today was quite interesting. So anyway, you go first.
Oh, well, so as Hedley says, what we normally do is we talk about what we've been up to really in the last few weeks, and then we go on to a main subject. So what have I been up to? Do you know what I did the other day, Hedley? I walked along a section of the Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway, which you know well.
I know,
because it goes up to your neck of the woods. But in my neck of the woods, there's a lovely. Well, there's a lot of stretches I've not been on, you see. And I thought, I'm filming a video as we speak on the history of the gauges of the railways, right? But kind of specifically to why Brunel's broad gauge 7-foot railway didn't survive, despite the fact it was potentially more efficient and speedy. And I thought, right, well, I need a nice backdrop. A local nice backdrop. So I thought, right, I'm gonna drive to Whitchurch, head north, and there's a stretch of the Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway you can walk along for quite a good couple of 3 miles up to Berkeley. And it was, and I love doing that because so many times we used to go along and visit all these old stations, but you miss so much of the goodness in the middle. So I had a nice walk along a lovely stretch, and I sort of went down the embankment looking for culverts, and you'd have loved it, Hedley, because I dived in about 3 hedges.
Your hedge diving and ditch diving is legendary.
I was on fine form on that day. I got myself inside a culvert and everything. Very exciting few days. But what else have I been up to? Also, oh crikey, we've been doing, as my listeners and of the channel will know, we do a thing in our town called the Santa Run. So basically, we tow Santa on the back of a trailer for 16 hours, collecting money over
16 hours.
16 hours. So that's about 3.5 hours a night for 5 nights in a row, Monday to Friday. We hook Santa up to a trailer. We've got like a big old sleigh at work, and we decorate it, put lights all over it, get a generator, sound system, and we've got a mate who does a lot of Santa stuff, and he plays a great Santa. And we drive around town, around all the estates, collecting money for a little charity. And it's the most tiring thing in the world. But so yeah, that my life has been basically that, and yeah, as ever, editing videos really. But,
and you look for those who can't see you. You look different today.
Do I?
You look like you got this sort of headset like a Dalek. You look like you. I don't know if it's a new headset, but you look like you're about to flog me home insurance or something. What's going on there?
Well, I mean, I can do you a good rate now. It's a good time of the year to be buying home insurance if you'd like to press option.
No. Well, actually, I could use it at the moment because we've got bits of house falling down here with the heating system. No, it's not, but it's fine. We got it covered. So yeah. So since
is that a pair of waders you're wearing, Hedley?
Yeah, the room is slowly filling up. You'll see me be like this after, you know. So actually, that sounded a bit like a Dalek. So since the last podcast, yeah, I've done. I mean, I've done a lot, so I'll try and cut out the crap, to be honest with you. I'm not going to list all the places I've been, so I'll start with some of them. So I did the Ivinghoe. I went to Ivinghoe Beacon. There was the so there was the Ridgeway 50 years old. So that's the Ridgeway as a national trail. 50. Obviously, the track itself is over 5,000 years old. And what they wanted to do is, so I met up with Sarah Wright, the Ridgeway officer, Anna Dillon, and we were welcomed by Marianne Akota from the television. And she flung her arms around me and said, "Oh, I want to be on your podcast." I'm like, wow, you know, I've seen, and I was trying to be all professional. I said, right, you know, because I'm really bad when it comes to meeting famous people. So I'm going to act professional and everything. She was waiting for us at the top of Ivinghoe Beacon with a big 50 sign, and I went straight up to like a spotty geek. "You're on the telly." You know. And there's one guy in front of us who was taking a replica bronze sword up there, and it's a heavy thing, a really, really heavy thing. And he saw her, and I think she was taking a picture from the top, so he thought it really funny to run up there, and it's wet chalk, and he slipped and the sword just missed his head. So yeah, that was interesting. But they all made a number 50 on the side of Ivinghoe Beacon, and I flew the drone and videoed it, and you know, it was. And then we went down to Ivinghoe, the village, for some lunch down there. That's a heck of a climb back up, to be honest with you. Not compared to what I've done today, but
no, fair enough. I've only sort of driven around it, to be fair. I've not actually been up it.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Now, I do stress, to fly the drone at the top, we had to get permission from the Ashridge estate, had to get permission from Ridgeway National Trail and the National Trust. And I had to fill out, I think it was about 9 forms in order to get that done and change my drone insurance. So it was quite a big thing to do, but yeah, it was really, really rewarding. So yeah, I do what I did today as well. So today, Paul, wonderful day today. So my son's back for Christmas, so we went. We decided to drive to Wales and climb up Pen Cerrig Calch. And below Cerrig Calch is there's this place called Table Mountain. It's above Crickhowell, and on top there's a hill fort, and I think that it's actually called, is it Crug Hywel or something like that.
No idea.
And so we were meant to climb right to the top, and we got one up to the top of Table Mountain, and then we decided to push on up higher to Pen Cerrig Calch. But as we were going up the sort of the ridge line to the top, we looked over on the top plateau, and the weather, I mean, it was almost like a tornado hurricane thing. The clouds were just black, blowing across, and I wasn't feeling very confident because all the paths up there had turned to basically streams, and going up, even in new walking shoes, we I could feel we could both feel ourselves slipping a little bit, and I'm thinking, well, I'm a big bloke. If I'm slipping going up, what's it like going to be like going down? And we got really high. We got a beautiful view. We've been going for a few hours, and I turned to my son and I said, you know what, it's sort of a, it's the middle of winter. It's kind of, I'm happy to quit while we're ahead and get the drone shots that I want. And you could see the weather coming in from the west as well, and it was a bit of summit fever because you're not far from the top, but at the same time, you don't really want your son to be calling an air ambulance up there in the howling gale. So we went back down, and we agreed to do it again in the summer. But the views across.
What made you choose that location? What was that made?
Well, it's okay. So this leads me into well, actually, it's due to a podcaster who camped up there. Not podcasting. No, not Tweedy did an adjacent mountain, yeah.
Did he? Right, because another YouTuber called Paul White did another adjacent mountain recently as well.
No,
the Blorange.
One of the lesser. Never.
It's not pronounced Blorange, is it?
No, the Blorange. I've cycled up Blorange. We used to do 75-mile training rides in the Black Mountains, and before we went out to do the Alps and the Pyrenees, and we would train with Blorange, called the Tumble. The road climb's called.
Is that the north, kind of the north side of it? Did you go up?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So it's got a main road. But
it's a main road. Yeah. And it's a nice climb. But yeah, it starts it off, and you end up doing about 2,500 meters of climbing around the actual all the way around. But that I think the Tumble is 400 meters, so you tick 400 off straight away. But
you cycled over the top of one of the most amazing tramway tunnels ever when you went up the Blorange.
Really?
Cycled over the top of it. But
wow.
I digress.
Yeah.
So you saw a YouTuber
but yeah,
did this.
I was influenced by a YouTuber called Warren Brand, but we'll get to him in a minute.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd seen his video up there, and so it led me to look at other videos of Table Mountain, and I was looking for something to do with my boy anyway, and they're the nearest mountains to us, so a couple of hours away in the car, and we went and did it, and it was really, really good. So there was that. The other things I've done is Whitnham Clumps. I went down to Seaton to see the end of the ancient Ridgeway as well. Stayed with Patrick Dillon, who's Anna's dad, and that was nice. Again, the weather wasn't great, but it's, if you imagine the Ridgeway goes down and finishes at the sanctuary nowadays. Well, if you've got Google Maps, you can keep following it down as kind of a line of trees and a dip, and it goes down all the way down to Seaton in Devon, where it comes out into an estuary, and the Axe estuary, and it's amazing seeing it from above. You can see how the estuary itself had been moved by the sea along, and it was just really, really nice to be down there. I did Tan Hill. I went to see Tim Dorr, deliver a picture to him, and I took my boy William, and we went into his Long Barrow, and then went up Tan Hill, Milk Hill, and along there. And that's basically. I think we did Blenheim Palace as well, Whitnham Clumps, a few other places. But I do want to give a shout out, as I said, to this man called Warren Brand. Now I've been following his videos for a while. His channel is called Linley's 360, and it's kind of an odd mix. It's kind of like, how shall I describe it? Do you know those shops that do key cutting, trophies, and shoe repairs for some reason? A really odd combination of stuff, but you know what to expect. His is kind of the same. He does sort of solo wild camping, pubs, and model railways. And it really works, and he loves custard. What can I say? But he does share a taste in beer with me. He likes the Hobgoblins and the Old Speckled Hen. So, cheers, Warren. And his videos are really, really good. I want to give another shout out as well. So this week, as you know well, saw the return of Hidden Wiltshire. So the podcast is back with a vengeance after 6 months. So this is Paul Timlett, who you and I know very well,
Yep.
and Glyn Coy and Elaine Perkins, who's the three of them present it. And they recorded their first episode back. They went on site to, I won't say where because it might spoil it, but they went on site somewhere in Wiltshire,
Yeah.
recorded the episode, quite a long episode, and they gave us a shout out as well, which was nice. And when they went back, they realised they hadn't recorded it. So they had to go and do it all over again. But you'd never have guessed. If they hadn't have mentioned it, you'd never guess. Now, this is, again, we're not being paid for this. This is their current book, Hidden Wiltshire, and it's pictures by the pair, and you've got aerial pictures by Glyn Coy, and it's basically scenes from Wiltshire. Really, really nice. This is actually book number 2. This is From Near and Far. So I can't really promote that book without also promoting this one, which is called Elevating Wiltshire by Hedley, Thorneh, Anna Dillon and Patrick Dillon. Our book, Elevating Wiltshire, is available from the Wiltshire Museum website or from myself, and Hidden Wiltshire From Near and Far, and their first book is also from the Hidden Wiltshire website. And anyone who doesn't follow Hidden Wiltshire and lives in Wiltshire, this is a great opportunity for you to tap into another podcast, and they are really, really good. Really good.
We'll put the links in the description below.
Yes, there's going to be a lot of links today.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's all part of the fun. All part of the fun.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's everything. Sorry, I'm rattling on a little bit there, but I think that's everything. Oh no, I was going to ask you something.
Oh.
What's this cutting cheese in half game?
Oh, it's quite a serious thing. It's serious, but it's also, it's the most sportsmanlike sport that I take part in. Once a year in our house, we have the annual cheese cutting in half competition. It's only between me and my brother-in-law. So
is this an Andover thing?
Not necessarily Andover, because he doesn't live in Andover, but it is a yearly event in which the participants, which are only myself and my brother-in-law, have to cut cheese in half, the same piece of cheese obviously, until it is no longer viable to cut it in half. So the person that can no longer cut the last piece in half viably and give 2 halves is obviously the loser, and the winner is the person that took the last cut. Thankfully, yesterday I've regained the championship for another 12 months.
Right. And is it mild cheddar? Because you're gonna be able to cut that smaller than
it's
mature cheddar.
On the basis that it's not too hard that it crumbles, because you don't want crumbly cheese all over the playing surface. And it's malleable enough that you can take a blade to it and give it a nice clean cut. It's a serious competition, Eddie. I hope you're not.
Obviously, I'm not going to knock those dark, cold nights in Andover.
Its foundation is sportsmanship, so we are very honest, and we're choose your knife, choose your weapon, and it's all good. It's all good.
We have a local pub game here called Aunt Sally. I think I don't know if it's an Oxfordshire thing or a South Oxfordshire thing, but ever since I've lived here, and it's basically throwing big wooden pegs at a dolly in the pub garden. And lots of pubs have it here.
Do you know, I saw a video on YouTube it was a remake of it was a Jack Hargreaves. Do you remember Jack Hargreaves? I think it was like early 80s, Country Life.
No, I don't.
He did a video on pub games, and that was one of the games. I can't remember what he called it. It was probably like he was based around Dorset, so he did Dorset Country Life.
Yeah,
and that was a game.
But I love the little quirky things like that. The games at the pubs, like Aunt Sally, and we have. I saw something on the news the other day. I can't remember where it was, somewhere not that far away, and they do. Is it hot penny throwing? So in the olden days, when a penny was worth probably about the equivalent of a quid nowadays, they would heat these pennies up upstairs in their kind of Victorian houses, I think it was, maybe a bit earlier, and they would throw them at the poor people outside. And the poor people, obviously it would hurt them, so it hurt them and hurt their hands and everything, but they'd be, getting free money. And so,
Yeah.
and the rich people throwing it upstairs, that was their entertainment. And it's kind of carried on till today. I've got to look up where that
Yeah.
is. Again, if anyone knows, put it in the comments. Another quirky
How
one is
bizarre.
near here in Abingdon, where whenever something happens with the royal family, so you have usually a birthday or a marriage or something like that,
Yeah.
they have a bun throwing contest from the top of the county hall. So you've got this great big Sir Christopher Wren County Hall, and the local baker makes 1,000 hot cross buns, and it's packed. I
Yeah.
mean, the town square is packed. It's a sea of people,
Yeah.
and these things really hurt. They throw them
Yeah.
off, and they're quite hard, and they usually have some local celebrity throwing them off along with the mayor and everything, and that was just raining out of the sky, all these buns.
There's a lot of these random,
Mm,
like, village traditional
yeah,
sports, isn't there? I can never remember what they're called.
yeah,
We learned a lot about them
mm,
when I did sports science, bizarrely. Yeah,
mm,
like it probably give the origin of a lot of the sports that we play today. Like the football one, where the goal is to get the football from one village centre to the other village centre by any means, and it's just essentially a brawl. What's that
yeah.
called? I can't remember for the life of me. Someone will put it in the comments below, I'm sure.
I'd use a Securicar van.
Yeah. First gear, drive.
Yeah. Or drone or something. So I was going to talk about guests. There are certain guests that we've got either coming up or would like to reach out to. So we've had Darren, we've had Sam Walks a lot, which was great.
Really enjoyed that.
We have unbelievably Marianne Ahota. I still, that's quite a catch to have a.
See, it's interesting you should mention her name. We'll come because I never knew her as anything other than someone that wrote a book that was been on my bookshelf for 4 or 5 years, and I've read this book.
I saw one of her books the other day. Yeah, I mean,
and it's an amazing book. It's called How to Read the Landscape, and I've read it, in sections because obviously it covers a lot of different things. And it's a wonderful book, and I jokingly sort of tagged her in on a tweet one day and said, "Oh, one day I'd love to make a video on this book, How to Read the Landscape." And she said, "Yeah, that'd be great." And I sort of jokingly said, "Yeah, I'll have my people contact your people."
She's been on loads. She's fronted so many TV programs, and my favourite of hers is the one she did on Silbury Hill. So when it was, when was it? 2008. Yeah, I think it's 2008. But she was also on Time Team, of course.
Yes.
She was, one of the main people on Time Team.
Her name and since obviously I've read the book,
Yeah.
I keep on seeing her name pop up everywhere.
Yeah. I'd like to try and tempt Alex Langlands on as well, if possible. We've got your friend Kate, I believe.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've already filmed something with Kate. I filmed like a half an hour, 45-minute chat.
Yeah.
At an abandoned railway station. I thought I would make some fun.
She's
content.
great.
So that was cool.
People's Countryside Environmental Debate podcast. I'm in early talks with them as well. See if we can get them on. People I'd also like to beg to, I think, David Carson, Tweedy Outdoors, definitely. Tweedy, if you're watching this is an invite. This is an invite for you on the podcast. I can't promise you loads of extra subscribers, but any collaboration works.
Yes.
And maybe, also maybe Warren one day, maybe Warren will want to come on as well. So again, there's a lot of possibilities. We've got one or two lined up, but it would be great to get those people on as well.
For me, it's not about sort of promoting each other's channel. It's just about like the different interaction with those sort of people. It's great, and like you say, loved having Sam on and Darren on last week or the week before, whatever it was. Just really interesting to speak to different people who do different things.
Exactly.
And it's great. Exactly. It's really good sort of interaction because it'd be great to meet up with these people all the time. But I think Darren lives in Cumbria probably or somewhere ridiculous.
But not to segue this in awkwardly, but I don't think we should have any seagull experts on, should we?
Well, seagull / squirrel experts.
Is he a squirrel expert as well?
I'm pretty confident there's a lot of squirrels going on there too.
People really don't know what we're talking about now.
They will do soon because I think I will talk about the incident with seagulls and squirrels. I wasn't
Is
gonna.
now a good time?
I can waffle now if you want, Hedley.
Go on then.
I've
Go
got a
on
lot
then.
of
Tell
notes.
us. So
I've got
I've got a really good subject lined up myself for afterwards.
yeah.
So if you get too depressing,
Yeah,
I'm
if I get
joking.
too depressing, I'll probably just fall asleep myself. Now, I'm not going to get depressing because I thought, do you know what? I thought long and hard about whether I want to talk about this and give it the airtime. And then I thought, do you know, I just get it off my chest, basically. But it's not, but I kind of thought it's given me the opportunity to look, without sounding sanctimonious, so to look into myself and the way I make videos. Um, because I always say I never want to come across like a historian. I always say I don't want to come across like I'm an authoritative body telling people all the things I've done, because I've not got an academic background on the things that I generally talk about. Um, so I kind of think, do you know what? I make videos on things that fall into my head of interest. That's the key for me. And I kind of think anything that I find even remotely interesting, I'll spend a week trying to sort of delve into it and make a little video. And the goal is for me, if somebody finds it interesting, well, they can then go and research it more or get involved themselves more or something. That's kind of my goal in life, is to just make an interesting video on something that I found interesting myself. I'm not, I know certain things more than others, but I'm never going to say I am a historian on railways or the landscape or Roman roads, because I'm not. Because the people that I would call historians are people that's had a lifetime of work on their subject. Um, and a good example of that lately is when I did the Vinland video that you saw, Eddie. You previewed that, didn't you? And you checked it over for me.
So yeah, I proofed it for you, and I mean, I'll be honest with you. Again, this sounds like I'm, sickeningly in your fan club, but the first thing that struck me was the editing of the video. It jumped away from YouTube and went to TV. It was amazing, but the subject was really fascinating.
Yeah,
So it was about a map, wasn't it?
it's about a map. Yeah, it's about a map that came to light in 1957, probably before that, but 1957 the story starts. And I just told the story of this map, the way that I had learnt about it by reading a book on it, by then looking at it further myself. I checked out Wikipedia, and then when you go to Wikipedia, you can check out the links that they give you. One of which was Yale University themselves, who did a lot of very recent work on it. And it was a map that basically dated to sort of early medieval period, and said that the Vikings found Vinland, America, the new land, the new world. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting, because my naive head still thinks that Columbus discovered the new world. But it turns out the Vikings got there. And yeah, a story aside, after in the 1960s, it was found to be true, because they found a bronze, not Bronze Age, a Viking settlement. So this map sort of predated that. Um, the long and short is it turned out to be a forgery. So I made a very brief sort of timeline of events that I had learnt by reading a book written by somebody on it, um, by looking at 3 or 4 different sources to tell the timeline. And that was it. And I enjoyed making it. As you said, I tried to put production into it, and I really enjoyed it. And of course, this guy jumps onto your comment, not me. You said, "Oh, Paul, great production. Thanks for the preview." Blah blah
Mm.
blah. This guy
Yeah.
jumped onto you and said, "I don't know what you're talking about. This is not a good video. It's full of mistakes. Um, I've done this subject all my life, and I've got 4 videos. You can check them out on my channel." And he was kind of abrupt and a bit rude, I thought.
But this is the point. I checked his channel out, and it was just a load of videos about of showing seagulls
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and as you say, squirrels. And I'm searching through, all these seagull videos to find something that relates.
There's a
You
lot
know,
of seagull videos, right? And
there's
squirrel
a lot of
videos.
seagulls videos. Yeah.
Goodness me.
So and my response to him, I was questioning, well, okay, you're telling me this, and you're having a bit of a pop at Paul's video. Fine, whatever,
Yeah,
but forgive me for saying this, who are you? Because I've looked at your channel. You've got you know, it's you've got no picture on it of yourself. You've got no description of who you are, and all your videos are seagulls. So,
Yeah.
you know, I can't
Yeah.
assume, you know, and
And
people are very
yeah.
quick.
So he jumped onto your comment,
Yeah.
not commenting himself onto your comment. I replied and just said, okay, mate, because he said that I will make a
Mm,
reaction video. So I replied to that and just put something like, okay, you crack on. This video is going to get 20, 30,000 views. In my head, a reaction video is something you make to when someone's got millions of views, but whatever.
mm.
And yeah, lo and behold, 2 or 3 days later, he made what he referred to as a reaction video. Now, there's two separate issues with the
Mm.
video he made, and I'll address them separately. Number one, he spent the entire video nitpicking, and I'll give you an example. My thumbnail said the map that fooled everybody, and he this is where he started. No, the map didn't fool everybody because not everybody knew about it straight away, and it's like, okay, you carry on, and he basically nitpicks these tiny little points that are kind of like a great example is it was eventually proved it was a fake because there was titanium dioxide ink used. So titanium dioxide is an element that is only used after 1920. So they said, okay, well, it can't be a forgery because this is covered in titanium dioxide, right? So I said that line, and he said, no, I think you'll find the ink was all over the map. It contained titanium dioxide, and I'm like, that's exactly what I meant, and anybody would have known that's exactly what I meant. That was
Yeah.
his basis of his video. It was nitpicking. That was issue number one. So it wasn't really a reaction, it was more nitpicking, but that's fine because if you're just nitpicking, you could class that as a reaction because
Yeah.
there was, in my head, there's still no points that I would change. But anyway, that's that side. I told the story through the timeline that I had read in a book, which I cited in the description. Right. Number two, um, the biggest problem in my head was YouTube told me nearly straight away. YouTube said, "Oh, there is another video appeared on YouTube that has appeared to use your footage, and it tells you a percentage. It was like it's used 6 minutes of your 15-minute video has been used in this video, so it tells you.
Mm.
Would you like to do something about this?" I think, okay, fine. So first of all, to make this reaction video, he'd used 6 minutes of my video, which contained paid for and licensed music, paid for and licensed stock footage, my own footage that I'd filmed, spent a day filming of me talking, a paid for and licensed actor which I used, which genuinely paid him to do the work. And what he'd done with that wasn't just reacting to it, but he then built on the story. I'm like, I think you said you watched it, Hedley. He built
No, I
on,
didn't watch it.
fair play. He
Mm.
he basically built on the story, and he used, for example, where I'd used my actor friend to say a line. He used that line. He used that piece of the video and said, now what this means is so and so did this, and he just built on the story. So it wasn't like he was saying this is wrong. He was saying yes, and the reason for this significance is this and this, and this helps us under. He basically spent 15 minutes telling more of a story than I told, which is great, but not if you're going to nick my entire video to tell the point. It's like,
Mm.
basically, go and make your own video, mate. You know, this is my living. This is how I make money. So there are costs involved with that. It's like him. It's like him going out and making a video and using my car and petrol, essentially,
Yeah.
and saying, "Oh, this is my own. I travelled all the way over there. I mean, I use Paul's car and petrol, and I use somebody else's drone and their footage, and he's done all the different things to make not a reaction video, but to make a new video." And I kind of thought, do you know
Mm.
what? Number one, I wouldn't change anything about my video because I don't think he's really picked any major holes in the story. I
No.
mean, like I said, I've got the information from a book, for Christ's sake. Um, Number two, why would you not just ask me and just say, Paul, I think you've made some mistakes in here. I've done a few videos on this. This is
Yeah.
my area of expertise. Drop me an email, do anything you like, and say, I think you've got a couple of bits wrong, Paul. Right? in my description, I always put a bit where people can add, not people can add, but people can get in touch and say, this is wrong or this is wrong. And I just think, if you'd just got in touch in a normal, respectful way, or not even respectful, just a normal way, and said, "Oh, I loved your video the other day. I found about 2 or 3 mistakes though. Here's a link to my video." I'd have put his link in my description and said, "Look, for a really deep dive on this subject, check out this video because it's amazing." That's exactly what I want from making these videos, for people to become interested in a subject, take a deeper dive than I ever would know how to. I'm not, like I said, I'm not there to be a historian. I'm there to go, hey, look at this guy and his channel because he does this all the time. This is his subject, and I'd love to show people. If you're interested in it, go check out this because there's so much there. And I just thought, I'm so disappointed. He's made this video that is basically an extension of my video, but with all my footage. Literally, he sat in my car, used my petrol, ate my sandwiches, and off he's trotted, and he's claimed it as his own. So I responded to YouTube and said, yeah, I'd like to remove that video removed. Feel free to make your own video, mate, but for goodness sake, be nice about it, be respectful about it, and just say, Paul, you've made a mistake. Would you like to point people in the direction of my videos? And I'd have gone, yeah, crikey, mate, absolutely, because this is great. That's what you want from it. That's what the community is about. It's not about someone saying they're an expert. So that's my waffle. That's me getting off my chest, Hedley, because it's I didn't want to reply to him because I thought, do you know what, maybe he'll watch this video, but whatever. The point is, I just thought, just be normal, mate, and just say hi. But because the thing that did it is his response to you. You said, "Oh, great production, Paul. This is a really good video. Thanks for sharing." Something like that.
Yeah, that's all I said, basically.
Yeah. And he said, this is not a good production at all. This is absolutely terrible. It's littered with mistakes. Blah, 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 blah. And I thought, if that's how you're going to be, mate, then I haven't got time of day for it. Then to go and nick all my footage that literally I pay for as a cost to the business.
I think he was wanting to make a video that gave him a platform, gave him, used your footage to make it the best visual video that he's made, and to try and grab a few subscribers. And to be perfectly honest with you, it didn't work. But I just don't like the hostility in that. It's just, something wrong with that.
Yeah, totally. I'll never say that I'm an expert in that subject because I cover so many different subjects. I couldn't be. There's people, like I say, there's people that live their life on one single subject, one single railway, one single canal. And they're the historians. And I'll gladly take on board any mistake, anything I've made, I've done wrong, by all means. It's science at the end of the day, and it's people telling a story, and just disappoint me. And I don't think I've got anything wrong that, of great significance. The essence of the story is very much the same. He even suggested that I was wrong to use Yale University as a source because they were part of the problem. And I kind of acknowledged that. I already said that in the video. I kind of said that they got things wrong early on. And in 2021, they corrected their mistake. They used non-invasive spectro to analyze it. And they said, we're wrong. And I even said in the video in the 70s or early 80s, they even said, this may actually be a forgery. They admitted it. So that is science. Science learns. Science says, yeah, this is wrong. We now believe this to be the truth. But because I'd use it as a source, he said, no, they were part of the problem. I said, well, they may well have been, but that's the point. It's all part of the story. So I don't know. I've waffled over, Hedley. I've got that chest, and I just thought,
that got deep.
I wanted to kind of say to people that listen to this, because these are our sort of hardcore fans, that, do you know what? I'm not a historian or an expert. I make videos on stuff that I find interesting, and it happens to be quite a few different things. I'll do my best, and I'll happily hold my hand up and say I've made a mistake if I made a mistake, without doubt. And
but you learn as you go. That's the whole point. Should we lighten this? Should we lighten this now?
Should we lighten the subject? Shall I bring a map up?
Should we lighten the subject? Bring your map up, Paul. Yeah. It's that time. It's episode 21. It's time for treasure hunt. wait for the music to finish.
Timing
I
is
was
everything.
hoping, yeah.
I mean, do you want me to count you in, Hedley? It's time for
Treasure hunt. The helicopter noise. So I thought I'd nailed that timing.
I,
I will. I'll get
do you
that
know what?
right. I'll get that
I
right.
can edit it in, Hedley, and just make it look
Right.
amazingly
So
seamless.
for those people that have just that are watching for the first time and haven't switched off, not to discredit anything we've said so far, we do treasure hunt. I have a subject every podcast. So my 21st subject is somewhere in Wessex, and I've given you some clues, Paul. I
Well,
have
you
given you
say
some
that.
clues.
You say
No,
that,
you just
Hedley.
haven't picked up on them. You haven't picked up on them. That's all.
Well,
I've been saying things in tweets that point almost directly to my subject, and you
really?
just haven't picked up. Yeah,
You
but I
said
give you a few obvious clues. This week it's not a hill.
you've
It's
already
not a
told me
hill.
that. You said to me,
Yeah,
"These are your clues, Hedley." Number one, it's not a hill or something,
yeah.
like that. You've also said it's not on your social media,
Hmm,
so I can't look
correct.
through your previous videos. I assume
Yeah,
it's not about South Wales where you've been today because that would be a little
no,
bit too obvious. So I'm just
and
gonna
also not in Wessex.
well, true. Well, yes, I'm gonna just get in the car, right, or the
Right.
proverbial
So
car.
you're in your car, and where are you starting?
Do you know what, Hedley? Once again, I'm going to start in your hometown at the beautiful little place that is Didcot Railway Centre. Because why not?
Did Cora? Why not? Why not?
Because
So, right, we're going to do hot or cold. So, you are really cold.
really, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
Because I had a little
Sorry about that.
theory. See, I had a little theory. Because you said to me, the one clue you've given me is you said I'll need the 3D on Google Maps. So
You will.
I was gonna
You
travel
will.
north to Oxford.
No.
Disappointing.
Oxford looks great on the
It does, doesn't it?
3D,
Yeah.
especially on Google Earth. But no, we're not going to Oxford
Okay.
today, I'm afraid.
All right. Well, seeing as I'm at Didcot Railway Centre, I'll leave the little broad gauge, standard gauge transfer centre, walk down under the tunnel up onto the platforms, and get on the main GWR railway.
Go on then. Are you going
Right.
east or west?
Okay. I'm still torn by the fact you've said I've got to use 3D. I feel like I'm going to go west. I'm going to go
Good
west.
start. You're very gradually getting warmer.
All right.
Really, I mean, you are still
All right.
Arctic frozen, but
Okay.
you are 125 miles an hour, getting gradually warmer.
Okay. Well, as the Pet Shop Boys once said in a beautiful way, go west. Right.
Yep.
What about? I mean, I've arrived at Swindon. I'm
Okay.
wondering if I should take the Golden Valley line and head northwest.
I think that'd be a bad idea.
It would
I
be about,
think
yeah.
you'd
You said
be.
we,
I
we
think
are
that'd be
in
a bad
Wessex,
idea.
we are in Wessex, aren't we?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
right. Okay. What about then if I crack on down towards Devon?
Oh, that's brilliant.
Do you know what I'm thinking?
You've taken a big chunk out of this now,
Yeah,
and I can
yeah.
also see where your mind might be going here. But
Well,
I
on
think
the
you.
basis that you said I'm mildly warmer leaving Didcot, I thought I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to go some
Okay.
miles, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, if I keep on going down towards Plymouth
Hmm.
on the GWR line, is that wise? Do we think?
That's wise. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if there's any stations before then.
oh, do I need to consider stations before then? Ooh,
Yeah, I would. I would. Well, I
all
mean,
right.
I'm trying to look where the railways go, but you're pretty spot on going down to Devon.
Well, I mean, if I take the beautiful route, I'll take the English River area down to Dawlish and Teignmouth and Newton Abbot.
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
I mean,
starting to get cold.
really,
Starting to get cold again.
you think I should
Yeah,
head north
I think you should. I think you
across
should. Yeah,
Devon? Well, in
I
that
think so.
case,
Yeah.
I'll have to take, I think, what is called the Dorset and Somerset Railway
Right.
from kind of Taunton direction.
How does he know this stuff? Yeah.
If I go from Taunton,
Okay.
and head towards Bude.
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute.
I'm
Bude,
not saying
Bude,
I've got to
Bude.
Bude.
Oh, hang on, Bude. Okay, okay, you haven't got to Bude. So from Taunton,
Yeah,
which direction is Bude?
west. directly west.
West. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you're doing well. You're doing well. You're doing
Right, so
well.
there was a railway that connected Taunton to Barnstable.
Okay, Barnstable. Barnstable's a good place to alight.
Oh, really? Are you thinking Exmoor?
Exmoor, it's within Exmoor.
Is it? Because there's a beautiful
Yes.
railway, Hedley, or there's a beautiful railway that was like a light railway that went between Barnstable and
Hmm.
Linton and Lynmouth.
Stop, stop,
Stop the car.
stop the car. Stop the
Linton and
car.
Lynmouth.
Walk. You got it.
Hey.
Pretty much.
Do you know?
Almost Lynmouth. Almost Lynmouth.
I've been very close to there.
So I
Not
said
there.
like some of the clues I was giving away. And let me think of one. I said it will probably end in disaster.
Oh, did
Right.
you? Yeah, but I just thought
Yes.
you're referring to our podcast in general, Hedley.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say, wouldn't be more. Anyway, Lynmouth. I'm not talking about Lynmouth per se. I am going to be talking about the absolutely beautiful East Lyn River. So,
Where's that?
what?
Is that going into it?
So if you look at the map of Lynmouth,
Oh, I got it.
the
East Lyn,
yeah it
not
heads
west.
sort of southeast. So it
Okay.
heads
Yeah.
along parallel with the coast, right?
Yeah.
And it looks good on a 3D map. Anyway, I'm going to talk about it. So this is likely to be our most western subject, with the exception of our previous Lundy Island podcast.
Yeah.
So having not been to the East Lyn for decades, I'm basically relying on resources and vague memories for the first half of the river, and then following the YouTube video of Abby Barnes for the second. Great YouTuber. Next time I go there, I'll probably take my drone, because Exmoor, unlike Dartmoor, is owned by nice people who like aerial photography. There is a small caveat that there is a fair use drone policy in place.
What does that mean?
And I will. It's basically a few do's and don'ts, basically,
So
which
I
is
could rock up there
fair enough.
if I was sensible and did their rules.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So they haven't banned drones. They have given some guidelines, basic stuff, to be honest with you. Yeah. So anyway, the north coast, the north coast of Exmoor is very hilly, as you can see, and the hills end in these kind of quite abruptly, with cliffs sort of plunging hundreds of meters down into the Bristol Channel. Exmoor itself, up on the higher ground, is interspersed by marshes, and you've got rivers and deep river valleys and gorges. And so, as I said, today I'm focusing on the amazing East Lyn River. So what we'll do is we will start at the source and end at the estuary.
Okay.
So the East Lyn flows through Exmoor, and it kind of straddles Somerset and Devon, and it runs down through the narrow and deep East Lyn Valley. So initially it routes from its sources. It's got two main sources, Badgeworthy water and Ore water to the west.
Yeah.
And then it sort of flows along towards the coast, but it's separated from the coast by a high ridge of hills. And then eventually it flows out to sea just after it's joined the West Lyn River at Lynmouth. So it was the setting of the 1869 novel by Richard Doddridge Blackmore, called Lorna Doone, A Romance of Exmoor. So anyway, as I've got two sources to pick from, I'm going to go with the kind of the bigger source that's meant to be the main source. So this is Badgeworthy water.
Okay. I think I've got that.
So this stream begins as a series of springs and tributaries high up. I think it's over 230 meters high up on the northern sort of the dip slope of Exmoor, in a peatland area called Black Pits.
And the rest.
This seems to be a kind of a watershed, because you've got the River Exe on the opposite side of the hills here. So Badgeworthy water sinks down slowly into its own valley as these sort of streams converge. And from this point on, farm animals no longer access the river, but they drink from troughs. So they're trying to keep the river as clean as possible. In fact, there was a project called the Myers Project, and it was implemented to restore peatland habitat and bring back this sort of the hydrological function of the peatlands. I think the industrial age saw drainage ditches being installed. This will make the area basically a good carbon store, and it'd be good for local wildlife as the waters run across the surface again rather than 3 ditches. So Badgeworthy water flows down northwards towards the Doon Valley, but before it gets there, it passes the site of a former medieval village. The earthwork remain of a deserted, sort of medieval settlement, and comprising, I think it was 14 buildings. It's believed to be the inspiration for the homestead of the Doom clan, as I said before in the R.D. Blackmore novel, 1869. One house was inhabited until I think it's 1814. So Badgeworthy water is then joined by Ore water, and that's where it becomes the East Lyn, a little further down at Malmsmead, which is a staggeringly beautiful spot where there's Lorna Doone Farm and there's a riverside cottage, and adjacent an iconic double arched packhorse bridge and a river ford, which I remember spectacular whenever a Land Rover goes through it at full speed. There's also a campsite there, a cloud campsite near the water. So as I say, Malmsmead is in the Dooms Valley, and again it's made famous by R.D. Blackmore's novel Lorna Doone. And I remember sitting there on a hot summer's day, eating ice cream and everything, and you see these cars. Some cars would come over the bridge because they don't know how deep the ford is. Some cars would go through the ford, and then you'd see this Land Rover Defender or tractor coming at full speed and massive splash, and it's absolutely wonderful. So what I'm going to do here is, instead of following the river down, we're going to take a quick eastwards detour from Malmsmead. We're going to go upstream, up the other tributary, Ore water. So up there on the right, we find the Church of the Blessed Virgin Mary that features in the Lorna Doone novel, and it was here that the novel's heroine, the eponymous Lorna, was shot at the altar during her wedding to the novel's hero John Ridd. Let's just sport it for anyone who's going to read it.
So I've lost it, Hedley. Where are we?
So we are, go back to Malmsmead.
The last place I got is a medieval village. I'm there.
Yeah, go north to go north to the confluence of the two rivers, and then head east a little bit. Yeah, so a little bit east of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Cool.
So you'll find that the church there.
Yeah.
So the shooting of Lorna Doone is not the only violent act associated with Ore Church, because in 1225, a local man named Robert killed Walter, the church chaplain, and he wounded Walter's son Gervase. As the official church guide mentions, it's odd that a place so small and remote as Ore would have supported a chaplain. So further upstream still, we no need to do this on the map, along the river Ore, just say there's a beautiful arch stone bridge, single arch, called Robber's Bridge. Absolutely beautiful place to go and visit and photograph.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do now, we'll go back westwards to where we were. So the two tributaries join at Malmsmead to become the East Lyn River, near that lovely bridge and the ford. And this enlarged river now turns westwards and flows down its own larger valley, which is again separated from the coast by this, to the north, by this high ridge. And up on this ridge, actually, close to the county border of Devon and Somerset, is a place called Yenworthy Lodge, and that's where I visited several times as a child. It's an outdoor centre. I believe it's owned by Oxfordshire County Council for school trips. And Yenworthy's got its own little valley, say just to the east of the county border, and you can look out to sea and see, very distant South Wales and everything. It's absolutely beautiful. So going back to the East Lyn. After breaking out of the trees from that bit, the East Lyn makes its way westwards in a kind of a straight and open valley, and it passes another campsite, and it gets to Leaford and Brendan. And there's a small cheap car park here, which is a great place to start a walk from, particularly if you're going to walk downstream towards Lynmouth. So after Brendan, the fast-flowing East Lyn, it dramatically changes character as it's now wooded and becomes a very deep, narrow, and very winding valley, and it has a path running along its length, which itself undulates along the valley alongside this bubbling river, which,
Mm.
itself has little beaches and whirlpools by now. Um, the valley is lined with ancient woodland, comprising beech, birch, and oak trees, and it's all covered in mosses. And say Abby Barnes, who I mentioned earlier, great YouTuber with a great YouTube video which covers this part of the river from here to
I
Lynmouth.
think I've seen her. Yeah.
Yeah, and she goes into more depth on the flora and fauna of the East Lyn.
Yeah.
And there are one or two buildings down here that you can stay in this part of the valley. They've got lovely names. One's called Oaklands, and there's the Rockford Inn and Green Tiles, and so that. So from here, the river is very popular for many activities like walking, whitewater kayaking, mountain biking, and fishing. In areas, it's very fast flowing, and fish include brown trout, salmon, sea trout. It's very good quality water, as I say.
Mm.
Animals are not allowed to feed here, so it is very popular with anglers. So a couple of miles before the end of the river and in a deep valley is Watersmeet, and there you've got National Trust's Watersmeet House. This is an incredible area. It's where the Lyn has another confluence. It's joined this time by Hoare Oak Water. And the two waters sort of again combine their valleys into a single deeper wooded, and this time it's a deep gorge with waterfalls, paths, and bridges. The river picks up a lot of size and strength here to become a far larger and more forceful river. Watersmeet House itself is a former fishing lodge right down in the valley where the rivers meet, and it has a road going down to it, I believe, and I think there's parking, and it's kind of a epicenter for incredible walks, as well as having National Trust, so it's got a shop and a tea room. So Abby explains in her video how a popular day trip is actually to walk from Lynmouth or Linton up to Watersmeet, have a cream tea, and then walk back again. So that's about a 4-mile round trip up the deepest part of the valley. As you stroll downstream from Watersmeet, the gorge heads vaguely northwards now towards the coast, and you may find the money tree there, which is a felled, dry tree with coins wedged into it from wish makers. And the beauty of this area has inspired many sort of local artists and painters and sketchers, such as I think John Crush is one of them. So between Watersmeet and Lynmouth, the path then becomes concrete tarmac. The Lyn vaguely heads northwest as you come into Lynmouth. You start seeing a number of sort of dark brick houses start to line the route, and one of the first signs of the Lynmouth disaster, which we'll come to in a minute, is a bedstead jammed into an old tree. Lynmouth, as the name suggests, is where the Lyn exits into the sea to the north. Linton, which the other town, sits on the left bank about 200 metres high up on the hill, on the sort of the cliff tops, and the two towns are joined, I'm sure you know, by the famous funicular railway, which again is a must if you've got a head for heights. In its final few hundred metres before the Lyn reaches the sea, the East Lyn is a very wide river, and it's now protected by large concrete flood walls to protect the town from flash floods. Beside the main bridge over that in the town and beside the Lyn Valley guest house, the East Lyn's smaller sibling, the West Lyn, flows into the East Lyn, and it kind of appears out of its own deep wooded valley. It's not quite as big. Just down from this final confluence, Lynmouth has a fascinating harbour, small. And there's a small castle-like tower called the Rhenish Tower, I believe. I think it's called the Rhenish Tower. I'll have to look that up. No. Anyway, that's there. Yeah, Rhenish Tower. And there's also like a plethora of shops and cafes and coastal walkways affording lovely views up along the coast and up to the huge hills and cliffs further along. So famously, on the 12th of January 1899, the RNLI lifeboat volunteers undertook one of the RNLI's most arduous feats to date, and they dragged a 10-ton lifeboat overnight in terrible weather all the way up the hill to launch it, over to Porlock to launch to get to a ship that's in distress. So they basically pulled the boat right up over the huge coastal hills up the road for several miles, and of course it would have not been tarmac back then,
Yeah.
and then down the steep hill into Porlock, again in terrible weather, to commit to the launch. And again, I'll include a link below so you can read up on this feat, so I'm not going to talk about it now. However, unfortunately, there is something far worse to talk about to end my subject today. So, as I mentioned earlier, the small fishing village of Lynmouth was the scene of a horrible flood disaster back in 1952. So rather than trying to describe it in my own words, I'm going to read this little piece from visitlintonandlynmouth.com. On Friday, 15th of August 1952, the tiny village of Lynmouth suffered what could be described as the worst river flood in English history. On the day itself, just over 9 inches of rain, that's 230 millimetres of rain fell, 6 inches of which fell in a short hour or so in the early afternoon, so the afternoon, early evening. Add in the 6 inches of rain that had already fallen in the first 2 weeks of August, then it's no surprise that the top of Exmoor was unable to absorb the rainfall and it was totally overwhelmed. I'm just going to put this in perspective briefly. So, they're talking about 9 inches of rain. A terrible day in the Lake District is between 1 and 2 inches, to give you some idea. So this a noted author, S.H. Burton, recorded that the river stood 18 inches deep in the area of the moor around the chains. Indeed, the road between Lynmouth and Simons Bath, ironically a place called Dry Bridges, was reported to the Devon Constabulary in the early evening as being washed away and impassable. The road here is half a mile above Farley Water, the nearest river, and it is estimated that 90 million tonnes of rain fell in North Devon and West Somerset on that day. 90 million tonnes. This rainfall flooded into the many tributaries, like we were talking about earlier, of the East and West Lyn Rivers, and consequently many tonnes of water, soil, boulders and vegetation descended through these narrow valleys of Exmoor from 500 metres up on the moor to meet at sea level in Lynmouth itself. On its way, various bridges were blocked. They'd blocked the flow until they collapsed, and subsequently a wall of water and rubble hit Lynmouth in the late evening. Effectively, Lynmouth was destroyed during that night completely. The statistics make incredible reading. The River Lyn in that valley, as it came out at Lynmouth, rose 60 feet above the normal level at its highest point. That's just under 20 meters. 34 people in the wider area lost their lives. I think it's well over 100 buildings were destroyed. 28 people within Lynmouth and the Barbrook area alone were killed. In 1953, the 58th report of scientific memoranda of the Devonshire Association, prepared by specialist Mr. C.H. Dobby, concluded, amongst other points, that the flow of water in the tributaries and branches exceeded the acute catastrophic flood definition for England. As assessed by a preliminary investigation, the flow could be included in the list of extreme flood discharges of the world. The tiny catchment area of 39 square miles, bear that number in mind, 39 square miles, yielded a flow that has only ever been exceeded twice by the River Thames in all of its 3,812 square miles since measurements started in 1883. Further, Mr. Dobby calculated that the water that fell in one day would supply the water leads of Lynmouth's total population for 108 years.
Wow.
Following the devastation, 114,000 tonnes of rubble was cleared from the village, some of it being used to extend the Esplanade car park, but most of it being dumped into the channel and dispersed by tidal motion. It took 6 years to rebuild and remodel Lynmouth, and the design of the flood overflow area above the May Bridge is calculated now to take 1.5 times the amount of water that flowed through the village on that day. So it's hoped that such a disaster could never happen again.
Yeah, so it's a bit like
And
it's almost like
that's
a bit of a Boscastle kind of situation, I guess.
it's with respect to Boscastle, this is Boscastle a 100 times, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
okay. So
it's
it was,
yeah.
and I guess the trouble is, yeah, this probably wasn't
Mm,
recorded on any,
no.
unlike Boscastle, which was recorded on
Yeah.
quite a few different devices, but this obviously
Yeah.
was none, I
No.
suppose.
And I think the aftermath was, you can Google pictures of the aftermath, and there's a museum in Lynmouth showing well, a museum to the flood, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my story of the East Lyn started quite nice, but sorry, and took the tone down a bit at the end. So yeah, pretty scary stuff, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I've
So
got some good visuals from the old maps. Nothing
good,
3D, but
good.
there's a lot of pin drop places, as you can imagine.
Yeah,
So there's a lot.
I've got
Yeah, it looks amazing.
none of my own photos to offer because I haven't been there recently. Um, but yeah, I want to go back. I mean, when
Hmm.
I was writing that, while I was writing my subject for tonight, I was the more I wrote about it, the more I wanted to go back. To be perfectly honest with you.
I can see why, because yeah, we had a little
Mm,
holiday in Barnstable a couple of years ago with the kids,
yeah.
only for like 4 days, but we didn't get a chance to leave. We went to Expo, we went to the zoo, and we
Mm,
did all the things you do with the kids, go to the beach and all that. But yeah, just looking at
yeah.
the map, thinking, oh my goodness me, there's so much here, and just
Yeah.
some scary roads in and out. And of course,
Mm,
there's the old railway. We covered the railway from Barnstable to Taunton. I think it's called the Dorset
mm,
and Somerset, or no, sorry, the Devon and Somerset Railway. Um,
mm,
and that's a great railway. There's like 4 or 5 tunnels along it. But
yeah.
yeah, of course, when you get to Barnstable, there's a light railway, probably called the Linton and Lynmouth. I suspect there's still a miniature part. But there
Yeah.
you go, Linton and Barnstable Railway, and there's still
Mm,
like a mile section of that railway as a heritage line,
mm,
because it was a light railway. So between Linton and Barnstable, I think it had about 10 stations. Tiny little stations. Um,
yeah.
proper what? And again, you know what the topography is like. Proper
Mm,
little round every contour you can imagine. Um,
yeah.
Fascinating
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. It's wonderful. It's just got a character all of its own.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Just go back. Um, should we do comments from the last video?
Yeah. Go
So
for it.
I've got it here.
Yep.
So we've got 60 odd comments, I think. So I'm not going to read them all out. I'll start actually with Linley's 360. Hello. It's amazing. Just talked about him on here, and he's already commented 2 days ago. So
Brilliant.
he was saying, well done on completing all the Wainwrights. Obviously, that's for Darren.
Yep.
That's a hell of an achievement. He says he follows a Tramp in the Hills.A41, and they're currently working on ticking off each of the highest summits in the old counties. That sounds good. So yeah, and he also says Butser Hill was a lovely spot. He says I did a cheeky wild camp on on the top a year or so ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know it's on YouTube where I watched that. It's really good. So that was really good, really good. So let's have a look. Ian Fleming 6027, thank you. Just says another great show. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ian. Barry Bollard. Hey, we got another returning one.
Yep.
Rolled along quite nicely. He said he's curious what audio-only subscribers do in the treasure hunt and mapping segments. I think the answer to that, quite simply, is they use their imagination. Darren
Yeah.
had a sort of the
Yeah.
people who watch this on YouTube, they can see you moving the map around and everything,
Yeah.
but I can't, and that's why I stall a little bit during treasure hunt, and nor can the people obviously listening. So yeah, there might be a way of us doing it where I control the map. So anyway, we'll come back
Yeah.
to
Yeah. We can do that. Yeah.
that. So yeah, he said about someone speak to folk legend Ron Harper about Wansdyke. Okay, I'll have a look into that.
Does he mean Roy
Um,
Harper?
could be.
Because
Yeah.
Roy Harper is the
Oh no, he
father.
put Roy Harper. Sorry,
Oh
I
well,
read it
Roy
wrong.
Harper.
Yeah,
I play
yeah.
football with his son,
Really?
who is also an
Mm,
extremely accomplished musician in his own right.
mm,
Nick Harper. Google Nick Harper, and
mm,
you'll see him in concert, regularly breaking guitar strings on purpose so he can fix them
mm.
as he plays. Just an insane
Okay.
talent. Roy Harper's son is
Oh,
an
brilliant.
insane talent. There you go.
Keith M603, he really likes these guest appearances, adding a different perspective. Darren and Sam have proven excellent guests, as you'd expect from watching their outstanding videos. Not a lot I can add to that, to be honest with you. I think these collaborations work well. They're good for us. They're good for the people that come on, and they're definitely good for the audience, because I think, both of them had some incredible stories to tell, and they've obviously both of them full of experiences. And so this is why it'd be nice to get other people on. And so, Tweedy, excuse me. Someone says this is about Butser. The Iron Age farm reconstruction is to the southeast, about 1 kilometre away. It was originally sited at the foot of Butser Hill opposite the A3. Okay, so that's moved. So that was Pete Trundle 5454. So Tracy Stanley 6687 says it's nice seeing Darren on the screen. We work really well together. Someone called Paul Whitewick. No, I never heard of him. Here's an interesting one. James Walks in History 3848. A bit of a long name, but definitely worth following. I won't read his comment out because we've got a lot to go through, but I'm picking him out because he does some great videos on history and hill forts. Not unlike WC21, to be honest with you, unlike Darren. So again, another great one to follow. Simon Fairborn, I've worn tweed when walking up hills with my radios for years, and I thoroughly recommend online tailoring, Hedley. Stylish in the office too, though, perhaps when it's dried out, or the aroma of damp sheep will follow you. Mrs. Thorneh has stamped the no on this. She said you're not getting tweed, but what I'm looking for is gateway tweed. The sort of the dark grey stuff to lead in. So anyway, Oliver G. Hunter. He remembers his parents taking him and his sister to Butser Hill to see the Iron Age village when they were little. I've really missed out on this. I should have gone to that. That's good. Tweedy Outdoors. He enjoyed hearing about my trip to the Bell at Aldworth. Oh, what a beautiful pub. It's great to see Darren on the screen as well. The Bell at Aldworth, it's, as I said before, really old interior. The food they give you is in a really nice way, really basic. So you order a cheese sandwich, you get like a cob, freshly, baked cob, and a massive lump of cheese in, and then sort of raw onion and stuff. I know it sounds weird, but it is really good. So David Bellani 3308. Hello, David. Congratulations for Mr. WC21 for completing the Wainwrights. That's quite an achievement. He loved the anecdote about the rhinos. The Five Faces enjoyed the face behind WC21, an original and honest YouTube channel. More please, he says. Nice one. WC21 UK Productions Limited, thank you for having me. I enjoyed the waffle. Butser Hill will be appearing on his channel in a future production. Well, stay tuned for that. Cool. Let's just do a couple more. Let's do some more. No, I'm not going to read that one. That's spam. Did you reply to that? Sorry. Someone's. Oh yeah. It says, hello. I recently visited your channel. Your content's good, but I feel some SEO related issues on your video. So Davey 941. Hello again, Paul, and hi Darren. Interesting podcast as usual. I think it's cool that you both have your own channels. Paul, Scruffy Hedley. I give up. Scruffy Hedley. Yeah, I know. Look, I repeat. I've bought a nice coat since then. The coat I was wearing in that video was terrible. Barry Conway, how long? Press pause, grab beer. And we'll leave it at that, I think. Yeah. So
we could both do the rebrand, Hedley. I could do the rebrand. The trouble is I don't want to start wearing tweed because all of a sudden I'll be ripping off Tweedy and our friend Darren, isn't it? I need a new brand.
I think quite the opposite. You'll be promoting them. People will ask you why you've gone to Tweed, and you can mention them.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Rebecca.
And it means then I can turn around to Mrs. T and say, look, all of my friends are wearing tweed. So
you could just say this is the new Wessex Ways uniform, Yeah.
Anyway, before we go, so if if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment below, give us a like, give us a share, please. It would be nice to expand. But also looking for suggestions for places that you want me to cover. So for my subject, if there's anywhere within Wessex that you find interesting that I haven't already covered, let me know. I will go out there with my drone and see what I can do and see if I can pull a story together for this. So yeah.
Sounds good to me. And if you've got any interesting historic / any kind of story for my YouTube channel, I'm always game for ideas as well, because I love a good story.
Yes.
Especially if there's any reaction videos including pigeons. Happy days.
Yes. Right. Thank you very much for everyone for listening. And I think we are done. I've still got some beer left. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. And we will speak to you again in episode 22.
See you next time.